Here at the Welfare Rights Office, we started to get more and more calls per hour where people were saying, welfare rights come and help us. We just got a water bill, or our water was just turned off, and the bill that we received is so high we can't pay for it and we need help.
They charge you like three times more than the water. If you use 100 cubic feet of water.
Every year, the water department has been raising rates for at least 30 years now. Some people are paying up to 20% of their limited income just in water alone. Last year, they shut off water to about 100,000 residents in the city. They had been shutting off water for years, but nowhere on this scale.
I've been in the trenches on civil rights and human rights issues all of my career. But when I heard this being explained to me, basically it makes my blood boil and makes me want to get up out of my chair and start working.
The truck would go down 123 Main Street, they'd start there, and they'd go to the next block on Main Street, and the next block. Just turning off water over and over again. It didn't matter if there were veterans living there or disabled people, seniors, children.
I mean, they were not saying anything. They just moved through. When they finished, they sprayed a bright blue paint on the sidewalk in front of the home. And so we filed a lawsuit, and our basic issue was, let's stop these shutoffs and let's create a very rational plan to handle a set of circumstances where someone's got behind in their water. It really was irreparable harm that we were able to show the judge, but he went for profits over people and ruled that money was more important, basically, than the human rights that we laid out in front of him.
There's also the situation where people who have not been able to pay their water bill, not been able to get assistance on the payment for the water bill is then turned over to your property taxes. So the water department has the authority to then roll that over as a lien. And if you cannot pay all of that when it's time to pay your taxes at the end of the year, the county then has the authority to come after your home. Your home is then put in the auction block.
You cannot look at human rights in isolation. Human rights are all interdependent, interconnected, and when one right fails, it has a chain reaction and a domino effect on other rights.
So you live here? How many are you here in your house?
Just my brother and myself.
Okay.
They've been here for how long?
Since 1965.
And how high is your water bill?
Our water bill is over $4,000.
So what is your monthly income in your household? On average, more or less.
Mine is around about $1,200 a month, and my brother's is about $1,100. So
Okay.
we're talking about $2,300
Exactly.
a month.
Right.
And it's hard,
Of course.
you know. And then for this
The fact of bringing the gravitas of the UN, when they issued their findings that there was a major human rights violation going on in Detroit, it was based on actual knowledge. It was empirical.
And are you a homeowner? You own this home?
Yes, my brother and I, yeah.
So the fear is that the bill will then be put on your property taxes?
That too.
Yeah, that one fear. Okay. Yes.
The Bill of Rights transforms people who are suffering, who don't have access to water, into rights holders. It empowers them, and it gives them a clear sense that asking for these things is not a matter of charity. It's a legal entitlement, and it corresponds obviously to a legal obligation by the government, by the city, by the authorities.
Tomorrow we will hold a press conference and we will make recommendations.
recommendations to the government at the federal, state and city level. We hope to continue to be able to work with you on the housing issue, on the water issue.
I think it's reasonable to attach a price to water the same way that we attach a price to food, which is also a human right. Of course, you cannot treat everyone equally because we are not all equal. So it is also the state's obligation to find measures, to put measures in place that will make sure that those who, for reasons beyond their control, cannot afford that price, that they are not cut off simply because they don't have the means to pay.
There is not a water is a human right law in this country. So one of the things that the UN, we're very hopeful they will assist and support us in, is our fight for national water affordability.
But we implore you, please come together and help us with some recommendations. As my colleague says,
The case of Detroit transmits the message that human rights violations do not only take place below the equator line and not only in poor countries, in developing countries, etc. They take place everywhere in the world.
To learn more about what's happening is really sort of also educated us about this water crisis that's happening in many communities, and also gave us more sort of like conviction to go forward and link up with other groups of people and allies and organizations nationally and internationally.
I realized what the connection was after the United Nations got involved, and that your plight is connected to that African, to that South American, to that child up north of the Yukon, and every place else, and that this water is a universal fight.